let me remind you of what has happened now in the National Assembly, especially in the Senate. Look at what is going on and how the entire picture now looks when the supplementary elections have now been held. We now know for sure out of the 109 seats in the Senate, this is what we have. 59 are APC senators, and you can see other political parties. There are 7 political parties that make up the 109 seats now, making up the number of the senators in the National Assembly. So you see 36 are PDP members, 8 are Labour Party, 2 NNPP, 2 SDP, 1 APCA, and 1 YPP. That is the makeup of the Senate as it stands, thanks to our friends at Other Paper who put this together. But let's look at also how this whole thing now pans out. 109 Senate seats, 7 political parties, male senators are 106, and 3 female senators. No youth as far as the age and bracket is concerned, and no persons living with disabilities in the National Assembly. Let's take a look at some other information that might be important for our conversation tonight. 109 Senate seats, 14 of them are former governors ex-governors, 10 of the APC, 4 of the PDP. Ex-deputy governors are 2 of them, and 1 ex-governor from APGA. That is the composition of the Senate as it stands right now. Let's get talking about this. We have a mixture of experience and, of course, institutional understanding of the party politics. I'm being joined tonight by Honorable Cletus Obun, a very strong member of the APC and a former lawmaker. And I have another... Are you a 4th-timer now or a 3rd-timer?
3rd time now.
3rd time now.
Yes.
Honorable Aliyu Madaki is now of the NNPP from Kano in the House of Reps. Thank you so much indeed for coming. It's good to see you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
The other time you were on the other side of the party, but now you are here. So let's get straight to it. Let me begin with you, Honorable Obun. I mean, the last time I saw you, quite last year, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it was last year.
When you abandoned me.
All right. With what we've seen in your party, you saw the way Senator Abdullahi Adamu responded. But we do know that the opposition political parties are on the sideline. They're watching your political party, what you guys will do, and whether or not you've learned from the 2015 and 2019 and some of the history of the National Assembly's politics. But if you look at the body language and the kind of people who attended the meeting with Bola Tinubu today, what feeling does it give you about the National Assembly politics and its leadership?
But let me quickly tell you that Parliament is the Parliament is the fulcrum upon which all democracies devolve. Take away the Parliament, there is no democracy. Therefore, everybody is interested about what happens in Parliament. Indeed, as early as the 17th century, Jonathan Swift, that satirist who wrote Gulliver's Travel, will tell you that the Irish had what they call the Parliament of Fowls, which today you call the rubber stamp assemblies. This is exactly what we are avoiding as molders of democracy. The present president has gone through the rubrics and through the furnace of the formation of democracy in Nigeria. I mean, Senator Bola Tinubu, the president-elect of Nigeria. He has gone through it all, from parliament to the executive as governor. He knows what it means to hold a parliament that will be responsive and responsible, and at the same time act and take its role as an arm of government. It is in the interest of the executive, especially an executive president, to have a strong parliament in order to perform. And this has been demonstrated over and over. So what you see happening to APC is a correction and a perfection of what happened in 2019. After the 2015 experience, in which people had to go and virtually do vigil in the National Assembly in order to produce a leadership.
Sleeping in the car park.
In car parks and engaging in those type of dramatic shows and some climbing trees. Today, we have learned that lesson by 2019. So we are moving on and perfecting the art of putting the parliament that will not just be subservient to the executive, but will be responsive to the needs of the people as the real voice of the people. So what you see Adamu doing there is to keep the cards very close to his chest and not to expose too much. You have just 59 out of the 209. The other 50 are from about 6 political parties. Again, that is the dramatic change in what is the composition. For the first time, you are seeing just 10 former governors and 2 deputy governors. So unlike what Patrice Lumumba, the professor, said about our parliament, that it is a retirement ground for former governors, you have seen today that that has again changed. And there are more first-timers, which is not a very good sign for us as a growing democracy, because institutional memory is lost when the turnover of new parliamentarians is coming. But when you have redundant parliamentarians, you have no choice but to produce a new one to bring vibrancy to it. So the mix between the old and the new is a very sound thing to happen. And when you find a young man like this, you will also understand, don't mind his beard. The beard is...
Honorable is no longer a young man.
No, he's not. I'm not looking at his side. I'm talking in relation to me, not to you.
Okay.
Because you won't be able to stand that. So I'm just saying that, I mean, he still has energy. He has so many years to go. Yeah. He has another 2-3 terms to go. And that's what... You remember that Biden was in the Senate for over 38 years.
Absolutely.
I remember that when Clinton was in the parliament, the man who was in charge of the Louisiana affair in the parliament was 42 years in parliament when Clinton was 46 years as a president. He was already in parliament for 42 years. So what does that tell you? Institutional memory. So if you keep saying you must have to follow up with, and you must keep that institutional memory. And so what we are doing here is to ensure that experience, exposure, capacity, competence, and character come to play in the kind of choice that we make about it. So the national chairman is acting in character and will not have to expose too much. Yeah. You know, have to give us away because the banana peel is waiting. We don't want 2015.
No, because things will be a bit more uncertain and the politics might be a bit more different from what you've seen in the past, because in the past you see 2-3 political parties in the National Assembly. In the House of Reps you have 8 political parties making up the House of Reps, the 360 seats. This is the first time in our democracy ever. Honorable Madaki, I mean, you're coming back into the National Assembly. The National Assembly you left the last time is totally different from the one that you're coming back into. You have multiplicity of political parties. Even your own political party never existed in the National Assembly. You're having a taste of it for the first time. What do you expect that could happen? Well, is the opposition, because you are in the opposition now, yes, are you guys ready?
We are very much ready. I believe what Nigeria requires is a very robust House of Representatives that will be productive, that will be more concerned with the welfare and well-being of the Nigerian citizen. And to me, having so many parties in the National Assembly should be seen as a plus instead of a minus, because this democracy will not flourish as it is in developed countries if somebody knows he will just go to one party and pick ticket, and at the end he will become a governor, a senator, or member of House of Representatives. When you know that somebody can go and pick a ticket from LP, YPP, NNPP, and win in your constituency, that to me will make people elected into any position to work for the welfare and well-being of the people who sent them to whichever seat they are occupying, that you know the seat you are occupying is courtesy of the people that elected you to serve them.
So, I mean, from your own point of view, there's those who believe, because the energy, that if you look at the age range and the average age of the persons in the House of Reps is, I mean, very much, you have a lot of young people, so you see a lot of energy, and you see a whole lot of, I mean, parliamentary exuberance that will play out. We see more of that in the House of Representatives.
That is important. That is important.
Yes, what kind of pressure do you think? Are we going to be seeing more pressure on the ruling party, more than what we have ever seen?
What we expect from the ruling party is to provide leadership if you look at the composition of the House of Representatives, you just talk about the composition of the Senate. In the House of Representatives, if you bring all the opposition parties together, our number is higher than that of the APC.
200.
So you see, with that, it means the ruling party has to sit up and work very well in its own house before.
In terms of bills and motions, you can override and overpower.
In terms of everything, what you need.
What you may not be able to do is to override them in terms of the presiding officer position.
Because you don't have. No, what we want to do is to follow what is best practices all over the world. The party that has the majority usually produces the speaker.
That's what the standing rule says, isn't it?
Yes. That is what... No, the standing rule did not talk about which party will produce the speaker. It just talk about a member.
The Senate has... that one is clearly stipulated.
Well, I don't know. You know, I have not been on sabbatical for...
I understand that there was an amendment in 2015 or thereabout about which political party can nominate or can have...
Now, if you say that...
presiding officers.
Which political party in the National Assembly as we speak now, has the majority? If you are taking it party by party, actually it's APC. Mm-hmm. And that is why we have a team which we call the Joint Tax Team, which comprises all the political parties put together. APC, PDP, Labour Party, NNPP, SDP, White, all the parties.
So there's a coalition?
There is a coalition.
How many of you out of the 360 members?
As at now, we were 283. And before I came for this meeting, 2 members came and joined, so which make us 285. Those who believe the APC as a party should go and sit and zone which place to take the speaker, then we will come together as members in a united voice and try to say who we want from that zone to be our speaker, based on the choice of APC as a party.
But the burden is now on APC and the onus is now on the APC. This zoning idea, what are your thoughts, Honorable Obong, about, because it will stem from the very first and second, because we have number 1, which is the president, number 2, the vice president, number 3, the Senate president, and number 4, the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Yeah. In your own view and from your own institutional memory of how things play out in Nigeria and what we have seen in your party particularly, because it's now majorly of your party affairs, and you're now going to be standing at that moment where you need to think about Nigeria and what the balance of power will do.
You should understand, if the party didn't do what is right, that does not mean the opposition cannot do something. We are now waiting for APC.
So if they do whatever is wrong,
if they didn't zone, they allowed it to go like that, then we as opposition can come and sit and say, okay, if that is the case, let's come and
it's good to give this expo and put us on the red alert. That is the duty of opposition. But let me say that in Parliament, as in all, Parliament I have defined elsewhere as the higher ground of unionism. Once you get into the Parliament, the first thing that comes to you is, whether at the state or national or even as councillors, the first thing that comes to your mind is your local government as a councillor. The second thing as a state legislator is the state. And at the national level, you are thinking about the country. If you put that mindset, you are going to have the Parliament, the National Assembly, acting as an organic whole. They move like organic molecules in a chemistry laboratory. They will move like that. And that is what he's trying to describe to you. That all the parties are coming together to talk to say, look, we want a leadership that will put this Parliament to perform its constitutional and patriotic duty to Nigerians first. And the Supreme Court made that much statement when it described the case of Atiku versus the federal government when it was about to be replaced. And he said, his allegiance is to the country, never to anybody or to any political party. If you put that in perspective, then you will come to understand that the APC, like I told you, the present president, I've worked with him for the better part of 20 years in this democracy. Between 1999 and now, I've worked with the present president-elect, Senator Tinubu. I've worked with him for over 20 years. And his mindset is so broad that he's without boundaries in this country and on the West African subcontinent, the subcontinent of West Africa. He's as transcontinental as that. So you will find that he is not going to impose a person what you are waiting for, that it will do the wrong thing under his watch, because he's going to contribute as leader of APC, as leader of ACN first, and as leader that led us into the coalition that became the merger. He did not at any time leave us in doubt that he wants democracy to function and to thrive and to flourish in the best practices all over the world. So I will tell you that when we are going into the present circumstance, in the present situation, zoning is going to take place, but at the proper time. Timing is important in the affairs of human beings. You can be in the right place at the wrong time, and you get it wrong. You can be in the wrong place at the right time, and you think you have succeeded. You have seen that happen in 2020.
But, I mean, let me quickly, from your own point of view, where you stand right now, number one, number two, we already know. Number one, Southwest. Number two, Northeast. Number three and number four. Where do you think?
I'll give you this. First, for the purpose of equity, fairness, and stability, national stability, the Northwest is just leaving power as president. It is in its own enlightened political interest to ensure that the other two regions in the North, which already Northeast have been taken care of with a vice presidential candidate. So North Central should, because by our tradition convention, not by constitution, but even though the constitution is silent, but still very firm on the issue of federal character, it is only fair that the North Central should produce the Speaker of the Federal House of Assembly and Federal House of Representatives. The reason is obvious. The Northwest, you still have the Deputy Senate President. So if you have the Northeast producing the Vice President, the North Central should go for the fourth position, which is the position of Speaker. And the Northwest can still go for the Deputy Senate President and still be strong, because you do not treat your weak child and make him permanently weak.
Number three,
Number three should go to the South-South for the same equity purposes. The reason is because the Southeast is agitating to control the affairs of this country as president. Their problem is not Senate President, because they produced it in 24 years of this election cycle. In 34 days' time, we will complete 24 years. In those 24 years, 20 of those years, the Southeast have produced presiding officers in the Senate. In the first 8 years of Obasanjo, they produced 5 Senate presidents from the 5 states of the Southeast. And in that period, 12 years of that period, they produced a deputy Senate president, who is a presiding officer, because when the Senate president is not there, he presides. And several times, you've seen them preside. So if there's anything in the Senate presidency, they have had it all. So they should rather be cutting friends, which is what some of their wise people like Nnamani have been telling them. Stretch your hands and form alliances. You cannot stay at Southeast 5 states and win presidency. It is by forming alliances. To do so is to drop your greed, is to drop your guard, is to concede, is to negotiate. And the way to do so is to tell the South-South brothers, look, we have done enough with the Senate president because it has not given us any result that we are looking for. Take this, but remember, when our time comes, we'll look for presidency. Remember us at that point. In that way, you are making friendship and you are building bridges. Abiola took over 17, 20 years to build his presidential ambition. Tinubu has done the same thing between 1991 and today. And today he's president. People must learn that. To build bridges, to give concessions. So the North Central should be given that opportunity. And if you have had the present deputy coming from Plateau, if you have rankings in the House of Reps members, and there are enough there, they're enough. There's a young man there. If you think that age is a factor, people like Adamu Dagde are sitting down there. They are young people, well-educated, articulate.
He's also from Plateau State.
That's
Yusuf Gagdi.
Yes, he's from Plateau. That's what
it's about 42 years.
Gagdi, 42 years. So if it is age, they have it. If it's they have young people like that all over the place. They have old people too as well.
The Deputy Senate President is also from Plateau State. He also wants to be Speaker from North Central.
So this is where we are.
I think
but North Central,
this is more of APC affair. But if I may chip in, I'm from the Northwest. Somebody from the Northwest will tell you, we gave the president the highest vote. Now that he's saying, his argument is that we have the president in our zone. Now that the president is going, is it not befitting for that zone to be given something?
A presiding officer.
Presiding officer, that's the House of Representatives.
No, Deputy Senate President is a presiding officer. You know
anybody
that.
From the Northwest, if you ask him now, what are they eyeing for? Because look at it. Go and look at the board. what is the contribution of Northwest, and what are they being compensated for that?
No, but again, some people will look at it if you look at the analysis.
But what, like I told you, this is an APC.
Yes, of course.
As I'm concerned,
you guys will have to differ to them.
To us in the joint tax box, what we are concerned is that we will concede to APC as a party to go and don that
do their zoning.
Yes, when they do, we key into it.
There are those who are
so that we will have harmony, we'll have unity.
There's a lot of argument, Honorable. For example,
yes,
they will tell you that Jigawa and Kano, for example, gave APC almost 900,000 votes.
Yes.
Over 500,000 votes in Kano,
yes.
Over 300,000 votes in Jigawa. But the North Central people also will argue that out of the 12 states that Bola Tinubu won, you have...
just a moment. That is not my own.
No, just a moment. For the sake and the benefit of our viewers who are watching. And they will say, out of the 12 states that Bola Tinubu won, in the 36 states, 4 of those states are from the North Central. Only 1 state in the Northeast, 2 states in the Northwest. The rest of it are Southwest. Bola Tinubu won Benue, Kwara, Niger, and Kogi. But in Plateau State, Bola Tinubu had 350-something thousand votes in Plateau, although he did not win. But that vote is more than the vote he got in Sokoto and in one other Northwest state. So I've listened to the argument of the people from the North Central. But if it is North Central or Northwest for the speaker, would your coalition agree to it?
We don't have any problem with anybody picked by APC as a party. What is obtainable everywhere in the world is that the majority party will pick the speaker. And we are in agreement with that. What we want is that there should be fairness and equity in everything that will be done in the House of Representatives. Yeah. And that will bring about good and harmonious working relationship between the legislature and the executive. We have seen it shown before. I was in the House 2011 and 2015 when we decided in the House that we are going to pick Amin Waziri Tambol as our speaker against the party zoning.
Decision, yeah.
Those of us who were in the House in that time between 2011 to 2015 will tell you that we didn't take much home in terms of constituency project. Not much, because there is acrimony between the executive and the legislature. And I can recall in 2015 to 2019, when some people opted to go for Dogara, even though I was for PEMI that time. When Dogara won, the relationship and budget implementation in those years was always below 60%. But look at what happened this time around. Because the executive is in tune with the legislature, the budget implementation every year since I left the House was between 80 to 95%. That shows to you, that is why...
The synergy, right?
Yes, but because of that synergy.
Yeah, let's wrap up the conversation. Yes. And Honorable, one thing that is important is that Nigerians will have the searchlight on this government, perhaps more than ever before. Because the presidential election was keenly contested. And the National Assembly also will have their own share of it. Now that we have multiplicity of political parties and the proliferation of political parties in the National Assembly, we will see a lot of voices, and opposition voices will be very high. I mean, from the onset of this government, which will be early June, when after the first inauguration of the president and the vice president, we'll see the inauguration of the National Assembly in early June. If there is a misstep in the leadership of the National Assembly, how brutal will it be for the Tinubu presidency?
Precisely why it is important to bring a man who has exposure and experience and can stabilize his colleagues. And that is the choice of the president. And like he said, the zoning formula, on the basis of equity, on the basis of hard work. Like he said, he made a very strong point about the Northwest. But we are saying that if all of us have to assert our rights, a lot of things will go wrong. A lot of things will go wrong. And so when we are pointing at the South-South in the case of the Senate presidency and the North Central, it is not because the others have not contributed. They are already strong. But the weak areas, we have never gotten it so good as a party, APC, from ACN, from APC to this point. We have never gotten so good as we did in the South-South this time around. It is to put paid to that abysmal failure that always comes from there. This time we got all the 6 states. We got 29.1% of the votes in the South, over 800,000 votes. And in that way, we were able to manage and get out of it with more than 25% in the 6 states of that geopolitical zone. And that is why we are saying take it, the Senate presidency there. And if APC makes the error of thinking that there's a tripod called the 3 major tribes, put all the minority tribes together, they are more than that. That is the point he's making about the fact that the minority parties, the small parties, are more in number. They have 200 members in the House of Reps. 200. APC has 160 out of the 360.
No, the calculation has changed a little.
Since
you are going to join us. You are going to join us.
No.
Okay.
So let me allow Honorable your final thought tonight.
Yes.
Opposition's role in these 10 national
we are going to experience a very robust, purposeful opposition in the House of Representatives, where something is done wrongly, we'll point at it and we'll say no where we need to say no, and where it is done right, we'll applaud the government.
All right.
And I believe that's what the opposition is out to perform, and we'll perform our job credibly.
You are the stabilizing rod upon which this new executive and the leadership of the National Assembly will. Please, as House of Reps, you people will go and tell them that this House will need to produce this so that you stabilize the economy from there and stabilize the politics from there.
Is something
because people like Godswill and Pabio, they're going to have a strong and solid National Assembly.
Which is very germane. The timing of this zoning is very important, because when you allow people to be spending money, to be going from here to there, and it takes time, and it comes to the end of the time, and then you say you bring zoning, that is when somebody will tell you he will not respect it. But if you do it on time, when people have not spent all their money campaigning, traveling from one part of the country to another. After I have visited 36 states, and then you come and tell me that.
All right, gentlemen,
so
thank you so much.
Whatever
Honorable Clayton Zubud has thrown it up to say, okay, his own preference is South-South. We have Godswill Akpabio, we have the likes of Adams Oshomole. I'm hearing Adams Oshomole. Adams Oshomole is a first-timer. Anything can happen. And in the North Central, in the Speaker, you have someone like Honorable Olawi from Kwara, Idris Wase from Plateau. You have Honorable Yusuf Gagdi from Plateau also. It's going to be very interesting.
But I told you, the Northwest should not be discounted.
We have Betara. We have Betara. We have Tajuddin Abbas.
It's their party affair. Let them go on.
Don't worry. We will deal with that.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Honorable Clayton Zubud, thank you so much for coming. Honorable Aliyu Madaki, it's good to see you again.
Thank you.
And welcome back to the National Assembly. Abuja has welcomed you from Kano.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
God bless you.